My parents bought a cabin in the Washington Mountain Range, VA. My mother and sister would go there and spend weekends. I remember my mother talking about how they would wake up and the side door of the cabin would be open. They changed the locks, but it continued. What was odd was we never arrived to find the door open. It only opened when someone was staying in the cabin. Summer or winter, it didn't matter. I laughed it off, thinking they left it open or that didn't close it properly. Ketra. Being young and adventurous, I decided to spend the night in the cabin during the winter. The cabin was not heated, but did have electricity and a small wood stove. So I drove my Jeep out there after work and got to the cabin after dark. I arrived and a light snow had started to fall. I was very cold and I was already regretting going because it was only 13 degrees F. I quickly lit a fire and stoked it to produce as much heat as possible. I closed the door and locked it, pulling it several times to ensure it was closed, not going to open in the middle of the night. Yes, I was laughing at the stories of it being open in the morning. I climbed into bed and put an extra quilt on to keep me warm. I quickly fell asleep. I had a nightmare. In the nightmare, I dreamed that I woke up and the cabin was ridiculously cold. I walked from the bedroom to relight the fire and I immediately saw the door open and turned 90 degrees to see a tall lizard-like demon with glowing red eyes staring at me. I immediately woke up from the dream and I was, wow, here I am out in the middle of nowhere by myself, and I'm having nightmares. Great. I then noticed that it's very cold. So I climb out of bed and walk towards the other room to relight the fire. As I enter the room, I turn, and in the darkness, I can see the door is sitting wide open. Snow had blown in on the floor. The nightmare was coming true. The nightmare was playing out exactly, and the next part was to see a large demon. I let out a yell and fumbled for the light switch like a madman. My mind was racing, the lights came on, and there was nothing there. I looked at the snow and didn't see any footprints or evidence of tampering. So in my engineering mind, I assumed the heating of the structure caused some structural shift and the door to pop open. I still didn't go back to the cabin for quite some time. A few years later, a house was built directly across the street. A few months after the new owners moved in, I walked over and introduced myself. We chatted for a little while and I asked how he and the family liked the place. He said they loved the area, but it was taking the kids some time to get used to living in the country. He smiled and said they're a bit spooked by it all. I asked, spooked? Yeah, they think a monster comes into their room at night. I must have turned as white as a sheet at that point.